We are so thrilled now to be joined by the head coach of your Worcester Railers. Nick Tuzzolino is here with us. He's the new general manager, associate head coach. And Nick, thank you so much for being here with us. And I just wanted to have you tell us a little bit about the upcoming season. But first, tell us about the fact that you have this GM position. This is something that's a little bit new for the Railers, right? Where we're splitting the job of the general manager and the head coach. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about what went into that decision.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure ever since I decided to take this position. It's been nothing but a warm welcome, so thank you for that. The position is, it's not as separate as it feels. We definitely will collaborate on the hockey side, but in hockey and a lot of other ways, obviously you see with the Bruins and other NHL teams that the general manager has a lot to do on his plate, and sometimes having all the hockey and all the GM stuff on your plate is a lot. So with Bob and I and me maybe focusing on building this roster, getting players signed, which we should have some announcements coming up in the next week or so, which will be exciting. That's the main consensus of the GM job. There's still a ton of hockey collaboration, obviously with our league, and Bob and I being the guys running the hockey. There's a big partnership there, but with the general manager piece and being able to build a roster for Worcester and trying to get us into the postseason again, as opposed to the last couple of years, that's going to be our main goal. And we thought that the way we divided this would make the most sense to be efficient and the best way down the line here.
Yeah, Nick, I want to hear more about that relationship with the head coach. Sounds like you're pretty much joined at the hip. But tell us all, how do the Worcester Railers, how do you build that roster when you say you're going to start announcing those signings soon? Is that the parent club has a say in that? Is that all you along with the head coach? How does that happen?
Starting with Bob and I is, as a general manager, yes, I could sign a guy and not ask anybody, but we talk to everybody. I make sure, obviously, that everyone's on the same page. Obviously, you got to coach the player that you want to bring in. So we make sure everyone's, collaboratively together, and we make decisions, as a whole. The Islanders definitely have input. They are doing their own thing. They have a draft coming up right now, so these are just ECHL strictly players. We'll hear more from Bridgeport and the Islanders in the upcoming weeks here. So that'll be something, again, to look forward to down the line.
So it's different than the way, say, baseball does it, where the Boston Red Sox really control that AAA roster. It sounds as if in hockey you have some more control over who you have on this team to start the season.
We do and we don't. Yes, we definitely work with the American League team. We have a majority of the players that are what I would say our control. They could send anywhere from 5 to 10 players down from their affiliate, and then we'd have to adjust accordingly. But we do have a lot of control. We do have a lot of collaboration with those teams, and they're not going to take someone or put someone there that you guys don't fully agree on either. So it works together a little bit more than probably other minor league sports, and it also helps the people in positions like mine and Bob's to where you can grow and advance in the game because you're doing so much of this and making these decisions, and you're not being just told what to do and how to play and how to sign. So it's very unique, it's exciting, and it leads for a pretty good product.
Boy, I don't have to tell you. I mean, listen, people obviously in here in Worcester, we love the Railers, but obviously the last couple of seasons have been disappointing, and the thrill of the playoff hunt, but then in narrowly missing. You know that. What's your approach and what's your message to the fans about that?
Well, my approach is pretty simple. I think obviously last year ended at the last game of the season, so if it was a player short or this or that is kind of splitting hairs. So I think first off, it's making sure that we get the players from last year's roster that we deem can help us, and then we really want to backfill. I found last year's roster, the defense was very strong. And offense we have to kind of make up for and probably build a couple assets there. But at the end of the day, for me, when I was playing, coming into Worcester when they were the Worcester Sharks was one of their most intimidating buildings to come in. Whether it was the way the glass was, the way the rosters were made, it was one of the toughest teams I've ever played. And with that being said, I want to make a team that is just as tough and physical, and that doesn't necessarily mean the fighting aspect, but it's the relentless, every guy over the boards is going to give you the same type of brand of physicality and aggression, different types of skill, but we really want that blue-collar mentality. And, being from Buffalo and, Worcester is a very similar place. I truly believe that you're a victim of your culture, and, you have to embrace the city you're in and the town you're in, and that's what you put on the ice because those are the type of people that you play in front of.
Yeah, I mean, you have Worcester's a great hockey town, and no doubt about it. And you've got a good fan base here as well. You just mentioned coming in and playing at the DCU Center. Tell us a little bit about that. You're no stranger to the Islanders.
Yeah, no, I was fortunate enough in my my early days to be drafted by the Islanders. Attended their training camps before I had tried other teams and around the league. But no, it's been. Had a long American League and ECHL career. The years that I was headed to that rink to play, I believe that, you had Matt Pelich and Nick Petrecki, and the goal scorers were Tim Kennedy, and I think Jonathan Chichu was just down after his 50-goal year in San Jose. So it was, you would walk in here, and it would be one of those things where, God, I hope I can get past the first three fighters before somebody grabs me.
Nick, let me bring our resident hockey expert and nut Ben White into the conversation to ask you some questions.
Coach, thanks so much for coming on with us. I guess my first question would be, the Railers have such a rabid fan base, and every year they come out to support the team. But unfortunately, over the last few years, as you well know, the Railers have come up short in just the last either game or few games of the season, usually after like a really hot start. So I guess just what are the expectations for this season, and what is your plan to get over the hump? Because the fans are going to come out, but it gets frustrating if after a couple of years you're never getting to that next level as a team.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously the goal for us as an organization is to push over that goal line. Falling short on the last game of the year last year, it definitely shows you where the finish line is and getting there. And I think, once we get there, the playoff rounds kind of speak for themselves. Obviously, you can watch from the NHL on down. Anything can happen once you get to the postseason. My process of getting there is, like I mentioned, lineup-wise already, building, infiltrating. I want to add more size, some more speed. But the big thing is with this league, as many of these fans in the area know because they're hockey people, there's a lot of movement. You see a lot of AHL teams where we're located. You see National Hockey League teams where we're located. So there is lots of movement in our league, and as a coach and a GM, we have to be able to weather those types of days. Obviously, our lineup will be strong at the start of the year, and then we'll have call-ups and injuries, so we'll have to kind of weather the storm in the middle of the season. So for us, it's going to be a very consistent piece of how we build on the ice, so that way when we plug and place players, nothing's really changed from a fan perspective. And fans are really going to be able, and this is my goal, obviously the puck hasn't dropped yet, so I guess it's a hope, but I want fans to be in there. I want them to be entertained by how we play, whether we're losing 2-1, up 2-1, down 3-0. We're going to have a hate to lose mentality. And in any sport, you're not going to be on the great side of it every night, but you can show the people that have come and paid their hard-earned money that you care that they're there and you care that we're losing or on the other side, so to speak. And I'm a firm believer in culture and people equals the living. So once we dive into that culture, once they get an understanding for what we want to build and how we want to play, I believe the result will follow. And I think that exciting brand of hockey is exactly what the Worcester fans are looking for.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something really important there. With the movement in the ECHL, as you mentioned, it just is tough when there's so much kind of moving parts. I think that you really hit on a little bit of the almost a New England Patriots approach where, you're going to have this mentality, this culture, and no matter who is in the building, it's a next man up, or, the guys out there, no matter who's out on the ice, is going to have the mentality of gritty, big bad, railers, not necessarily fighting, but just bringing that tenacity, bringing that chip on the shoulder, and no matter who's on the ice and who's playing, you're going to have that culture that's going to be the North Star for you guys.
Yeah, and this, fortunately for us in this game, there's pro leagues popping up everywhere. D3 guys coming out, D1 guys coming out, major junior coming out of university because they decide not to stay in major junior long. There are hockey players coming out of everywhere. And skill, again, is with any other sport right now, it's becoming a dime a dozen. So you're getting a lot of skill. So you're able to find these guys, put them in, and it's getting them to remember that this game still has a lot of fundamentals. That it's how it's played. It's played with speed, size, and detail, and skills like fourth or fifth down the line. So when you're able to really understand that and you buy into the team structure, the team system, and you add those pieces, when you lose those pieces, it's able to, like you said, the Patriots, you're able to kind of keep the boat afloat. And when you're in those dog days of the season with the late Januaries and when you are losing guys and you just need to hang on to points and stuff like that, those are the times where you'll see what type of season we're having. You're not going to be able to tell if you go, 10-2 or 20-1 or 20 whatever in your first 30 games. It'll be when we hit that lull of roster movement, when we hit that lull of maybe some injuries, and they're like, all right, let's see how the team rebounds from this. Can they go 500 in this stretch? Can they keep it above 500 in these 8 games? And that'll be where the season's made, because obviously you saw the importance of your first and last game of a season last year. So we really want to be able to weather storms the best we can. And I think most teams in this league, when they're good, they're really good, because that's how we build the rosters. But it's when they're bad, can we just be okay when we're bad?
Yeah, and I guess just one last point or question for me is that, you said that the team is going to reflect the city, and Worcester, blue collar, much like Buffalo, blue collar, working class, tough city. And, I think the most beloved Railers player in history, not counting the Sharks or the Ice Cats, but in the Railers' kind of short 6-year history here, is Yannick Turcotte. I know the league is moving away from fighters, but just the mentality and attitude of being tough and just bringing that, just talk to the importance of, hustle guys and being able to be gritty and being able to get the puck in dirty areas and put pucks on net and just kind of win in the ways that I think that it will excite the fans.
Yeah, toughness has changed a lot of ways over the years. Obviously you're seeing it now, and don't get me wrong, it is nice to have, I will call him that fighter. But, it's a game that is built, yes, there is puck skills, but it is a game that is built on confidence. It is built on swagger. It is built on imposing your will on other people, and that comes from a lot of different things. It's fasting on the puck. It's finishing your check relentless. It's constantly dumping a puck over a D shoulder, making him turn. Now I have to go into the glass every time. And when it hits that boiling point and the person says enough's enough and their gloves hit the ice, we're there to answer that bell, no matter who it is. And I think it's very important that you play with enough compete and enough passion that you can't predict what's going to happen that night. You can get aggravated to a night where you need to do that. You could get aggravated because you see something happen to a teammate and you want to stick up for him, and that's the level of edge I want my team to have.
Coach, before we let you go, I guess I'll just throw in one last thing, and that simply is, there's sort of there's you, there's Bob, head coach, and you've really laid out this great working relationship that the two of you are going to have. Bring us some great hockey here in the city. The other part of it is, as you and Ben were just talking, made me think of the fact that the Railers do such a wonderful job of being out in the community, of tracks, of your new president having such strong ties to the community, just to the way in which you are all involved in the community. What's it like to kind of go back to your playing days, different cities, I know, but for these young players to come up, to be in Worcester, do they get to experience the city? Do they get to become part of the city beyond just being out there on the ice?
Yeah, they definitely do. And, like you've mentioned, I've had a long journey in this game, and, there isn't a city I've lived in that I haven't loved and gotten to see. And it's, from the cities of Elmira, New York, all the way to Savannah. Like there's love in every city, and the guys have good time off, and they'll get there at a decent time to maybe visit a golf course or two, and then get to local establishments for obviously the start of football season. So they'll definitely, be able to, be a part of the city, get a feel for what it is. And like you mentioned before, they do a really good job of being in the city already. And, part of that is now they've got that wrapped up, and now it's time to bring that on ice. And, that's where, even just the fact that we live in an area now where, good or bad, we're in a hockey area. So we have to be able to be, cordial and answer questions and be able to, turn the page on a good day or a bad day and reset that next day for the school visit or for the interview or whatever it may be. And, again, I encourage all of our guys, when it is set in stone, to get there and be a part of the city as soon as possible. And, we'll do lots of team building things too, to allow them to be out as well. Obviously I know there's the Woo Sox are there. I mean, my son's pretty jacked up about that. He's a big baseball fan. So, there's tons of things. And I think, everybody gets that. You see Worcester on the your ticker and the name of it, and you're like, Worcester, like, where's that? And then you actually dive into where it is, and you're so close to so many things, whether it's Boston, whether it's Rhode Island. It just seems like a very special place, and from the players to myself, we're all really excited to get there and just kind of explore a bit before we take on the city, because again, I think it's very important to know how and where you live before you try and survive where you live.
General Manager, Associate Head Coach for your Worcester Railers. Looking forward to a fabulous season, and we'll be talking to Nick in the future as well. Nick Tuzzolino, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me.